Augustiner-Bräu.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I am absolutely shattered. I've been working in the studio all day putting up a vapour barrier, and the football's on tonight as well, so I thought I would get a beer in just before that. I've got some beers downstairs, but I thought I'd get a review in as well. And what have we got? Well, we have got a beer from one of my favourite breweries. It is the Augustiner-Bräu, and it's a beer that I got from the House of Trembling Madness on my recent escapade up to the People's Republic of Yorkshire.
The sacred sod of God's own county, Yorkshire.
Fucking hell, I went to York, and on the way there, I don't know what it was, but everything I was saying to my missus, I was doing in a northern accent, and she was getting a right up. Until we arrived there and she was doing it as well. I don't know what it is. There's witchcraft going on up in Yorkshire. But yeah, for all the I was there for 3 days. For all 3 days I was bursting into bouts of northernness. I don't know what it is. Didn't get caught, by the way. So yeah, there was no lynching. I thought there would have been with all these videos and me taking the piss out of the people, but I'll tell you something, they are fantastic people up there. I really enjoyed it. The fucking food was great, the scenery was great. York is an amazing city. I know I keep banging on about it, but you've got to go there. It is absolutely fantastic. Anyway, that's enough about the People's Republic of Yorkshire. This is Bavarian, and it is a Hellerbock, and I thought I'd reviewed it, but I hadn't. And when I saw it in the House of Trembling Madness, I thought, that is definitely one for me. And it's a beer from the brewery Augustiner. Now, you probably know my views on Augustiner Helles. In my opinion, that is the best lager in the world. I have tried a hell of a lot of lager, believe me, and I still don't think anything tops it. Believe me, there are things that come close, very close indeed. The Hofbrau being a good example. Hofbrau Helles. There's other stuff as well, German stuff, surprisingly good German beer. But I think pound for pound, I think that is the best. And there's 6 big breweries in Munich. The Augustiner Brewery, of course, Hacker-Shaw, Löwenbräu, Spartan, Hofbrau and Paulaner. And I don't think you're going to get a bad beer from that brewery. However, when it comes to Helles, Augustiner, they're top of the shop. I have converted so many people to drinking that beer, and I would say that almost everyone who has tried it has said it's the best lager they've ever tasted. So, Augustiner Helles, you have to try it. But we haven't got any of that today. We have got some of this stuff. This is Hellerbock. Now, Bock beer, if you're not aware, is a beer that was traditionally brewed. It was dark, and it was an ale, and it was first brewed in the 14th century in Germany, and it was brewed for special occasions, and it was usually top fermented, and that's changed. Now they are mostly, apart from Weizenbock, which is obviously a wheat beer, which is top fermented, all the other bocks, the German bocks, they're all bottom fermented lager type beers. But the characteristic of Bock beer is that it's strong, it's seasonal, and as I say, it's brewed for special occasions. One thing about the Bavarian Bock beers, you'll find, just like this one, it's got a billy goat on there, and there's a reason for that. The billy goat is pronounced as Einbeck in German. Einbeck means iron goat. In Bavaria, they have a very strange accent. If you've ever spoken to any German people and asked them about people who come from Bavaria and their accent, it's very hard to understand. The only way I can liken it to is maybe people from down south, where I'm from, London, etc. speaking to somebody from Newcastle or Sunderland, around there, around the Tyne area, they have a very strong, distinct accent. And, well, in fact, Birmingham as well. There's some people from the Black Country who I really have trouble understanding. But yeah, that's how it's come about. And they pronounce Ein Bock as Ein Beck in their dialect, and that's why the billy goat, if you look on any of the Doppelbocks or most of the Doppelbocks from Bavaria, they'll have a billy goat on there, and that's just a pun on the name and the way they pronounce it. But this is a bottom fermented beer as opposed to a top fermented beer, so this is lagered. It should be light in colour, and Bock beer is very strong, or stronger than normal lager, and it's very light too. It doesn't have much hop character. It's all about the malt with that, and it's quite sweet as well. There may be some traces of ethanol depending on the strength, but usually it's the malty sweetness that comes through on that. That's a characteristic. Before I get onto the beer, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on the brewery. Augustiner, or Augustiner as it's pronounced in German, is one of the oldest breweries in Germany. It was around in the 1300s in Bavaria. It was run by Augustinian monks, as the name would suggest, and they brewed beer for the Bock family, which was the royal family of Bavaria, until the Hofbrau house was introduced, which was owned by the Bocks, and they brewed their own beer. But Augustiner carried on brewing beer, and in the 1800s, when they had the secular dissolution of all the monasteries, that went into private hands, and it was bought by somebody called Anton Wagner. And if you look on the bottle, you will see, just to prove me a liar, you won't, oh you will, there, can you see that? There's a JW. That's for Joseph Wagner, who was the son of the original owners, Anton and Teresa Wagner. They were the original, or they bought it off the state when it went into state hands, when the monastery was dissolved. And their family has been brewing that ever since. I mean, it's gone backwards and forwards. It's had quite an expansion going on in that brewery because it was very popular. But World War II, of course, it flattened most of the brewery, and it wasn't until the 1970s that they actually renovated it all and expanded it even further. And now it is absolutely massive. It's producing beer that goes all over the world, hence the reason I'm sitting here with this bottle. So let's shut up, let's investigate the beer. This is a 7.5% beer. It is 330ml in the bottle. It has the protected status from the EU. I don't know if you can see that. I've got to get my face out of the way so his autofocus can work. No, it's not going to do it, is it? You fucking shithouse. There you go. And as I say, it is a Bock, and that really is about all you're going to get. So let's get it open and let's see what's going on. They're not very hop heavy, these beers, but if there are hops in there, it's to even out the sweetness of the malt that's gone into this. And this does conform to the Reinheitsgebot. That really doesn't mean anything at all, though. There are chemicals in German beer. Doesn't matter what anyone says. There's chemicals in the pesticides that are used on the malt and the hops. Certain German brewers use a clearing agent which makes the beer clear, and it's very similar to vinyl. It is one molecule away from vinyl, just like margarine is. Margarine is very similar to PVC. That's why if you have a tub of margarine, you'll never see a fly land on it, because they think it's plastic, it's not food. Anyway, there it is in the glass. It does look like a lager. Quite a nice head on that. That's why I put it into the Weiss beer glass, just to get that head. If I put it into a straight glass, I don't think the head would last as long. But it really should be drunk for a head. There's a 2-finger foamy white head. Lots of carbonation in there. Nice golden colour on the nose. Yeah, sweet malt. Little touch of that sulphur that you do get in a lot of German beers, especially Bavarian beers. I do detect some sulphur. You don't really get that on the flavour. I've been unlucky in the past, and funny enough, it was with Bock beers that I did have that quite high sulphur taste, and it wasn't nice. But I can definitely get that here. But there's sweet malt that's coming through there as well. It does taste really nice. It's slightly toasted, and there's a very, very faint whiff of caramel malt. Not a great deal, but it's just very subtle. And just some lemon citrus on top of that. No real hop character in there at all. Certainly not like a German Pilsner. So, before that head dissipates, let's get it down the hatch. Zum Wohl, as they say in Germany. Nice. I can detect some ethanol on that, and at 7.5%, I'm not surprised. There's a nice bready dough aftertaste on that. Carbonation's a little bit aggressive in the mouth, but let's dive in again. There is a bitterness on the arse end of it, and an earthiness running through this as well, which is a little unusual because normally I'd be expecting a little bit more malt on that, but that does sort of put me in mind of a German noble hop, like a Hallertauer, Tettnanger hop. It's got that earthiness. There's quite a pronounced earthiness on that. And there is a flowery type aroma that's coming through. It's like bread, and there's a different type of aroma on that. It's a mixture of that sulphurous, when I say sulphur, I don't mean the egg type sulphur. It's like a sulphate. I can't really say sulphate, that's fucking speed, isn't it? I can only describe it as like a very light, herbal, lemony type aroma with some flowery notes on it as well. And I'm not sure where that's coming from, because the hops that they use in this don't normally have that type of characteristic. That being said, it's quite flavoursome, quite nice, goes down really well, I will say that. It's clear as a bell, there's no suspended yeast in there, so there's no re-fermentation in the bottle. It's nice lacing on the glass as well, if you can see that. And it is generally what you'd expect from Augustiner. It's just a good, solid beer, and it tastes nice. There's a reason it's in 330ml bottle, and that is because obviously it's 7.5%. You've got to take it a little bit easy. That's quite dangerous as well, because it's 7.5. It's very easy drinking, and I really should put that down, because that is going down just a little bit too nice. So, what is the verdict on Augustiner Bock? Yeah, it's one of them beers that I thought I'd reviewed. I thought I'd done everything from the Augustiner-Bräu. Obviously I hadn't done this, but it's really nice, I have to say. Doesn't really eclipse their Helles. For me, that will always be the best beer that they do. But it's what you'd expect from a really good German brewer. Now, of course, Augustiner are one of the big six, or one of these six in Munich. And believe me, you won't last long if your beer's crap brewing in Munich. There are some seriously good brewers. In fact, I would go so far as to say if there was a region, a particular region in Europe, I mean, you can contest this, Prague could probably argue they have some better brewers, but I think Bavaria is where the best beer comes from, certainly the best beer I've tasted. And Augustiner do a range of all the traditional German beers. They do a Maibock, they do a Helles, they do a Weissbier, they do a Dunkel, they do a Doppelbock, etc. And all the ones I've tasted, if you look on the channel, you'll see all their beers reviewed on there, and it really is a good brewer. In fact, it's more than a good brewer, it's an excellent brewer, and this is a credit to them. I do like this. However, I will say, when it comes to Bock beer, I think the Ayinger Maibock was probably one of the best ones I've tasted. This doesn't quite measure up. I'm being slightly, how can I put it, slightly disorientated with that herbal, not so much herbal, it's more flowery aroma, sulphur and flower. It sounds terrible, but it is nice. But the beer's great. I mean, it goes down absolutely superb, and I'm really resisting the urge to neck that. So I'm going to put that down and give you the verdict. For me, that is an 8.5 out of 10. Reason I'm not going to give it more is because I do think there's better Bock beers out there. And I will say, Bock beer is not my favourite style of German beer. I like it, don't get me wrong, but there are better styles of German beer. And Bock beer, I think, I wouldn't really go out of my way to session Bock beer. For one, it's very, very fucking strong compared to normal lager. And two, I just prefer the light, sweeter taste of a Helles. But that's still good. I mean, I really am splitting hairs here. You know, if somebody handed me this and said, here you go, it's free, I would, well, it wouldn't touch the sides, to be honest. I still like it. I think it's a great beer. But for me, that's going to get an 8.5 out of 10. I'll definitely recommend it though. If you like good, solid German beer, slightly on the strong side as well, but not strong, or not so strong as you would notice it going down, then this is the one for you. Believe me, if you had 3 or 4 bottles of that, you would, you know, if you got to a session late and you wanted to catch up with everyone else, 3 or 4 bottles of this, and yeah, you'd be well on your way. So there you go, 8.5 out of 10, and it's recommended. And remember, beer is working class champagne.